Hi everyone, today we're gonna talk about the Spectpro software. As explained in the previous tutorial, we can download the Spectpro software directly from the Petal platform. As you can see here, we just need to go on downloads and we can download the Spectro software for both Windows and macOS operative systems. As I'm working with Windows 10, what I need to do is just
It
to
will
click
take just
on
a
the
few
Windows
seconds, and
icon,
once the
and as
software
it's
has
been
been seen
downloaded, you
below,
just
the
need to
Spectral
double click
software
on it,
will be
and it will
automatically
be
downloaded.
installed in a few moments. After the installation, the Spectro software is ready to be used. To open the Spectro software, we only need to use the same credentials we are using to have access to the Petal platform. By clicking on the login icon, we can see that we now have access to the Spectro software. And here, what is important to underline is that the Spectro software can be used to visualize and treat not only the spectra that are included in the Petal platform, but also spectra that are in your computer on other database. If we want to open the spectra from the Petal platform, we just need to click on this icon that connects the Spectro software directly to the Petal database. By clicking here, we can see that we can search for specific data by searching by sample or either by analysis. For instance, searching by analysis could be useful to observe and download the Raman spectra collected from a specific instrument. For example, I can select here that I want to observe all the Raman spectra that have been collected with the RLS ExoMass simulator. So what I need to do is to write RLS and search by analysis, and the Spectpro software will provide me with the complete list of spectra, including the Petal database, that have been performed with this specific instrument. Then by clicking on them, we can directly download them. Otherwise, we can perform a research by sample. In this case, what we need to do is to just write down the name of the sample we would like to investigate and click on search by sample, and the system will return automatically with all the spectra that are related with this terrestrial analog. In this case, we can see that we have one LIBS, one EIR, and one micromega analysis, and we have different Raman spectra. And by clicking here, we can directly download them to the Spectro software. We can also open multiple spectra at the same time by repeating the same procedure. Once we download all the spectra we want to work with, we just need to close all these icons, and you can see that the spectra are now appearing in the main window of the Spectpro software. The main window of the Spectpro software is now divided in three different sections. On the left side, we have the different tools we can use to treat our spectra. At the center, we can observe our data, while on the right, we have additional information about our spectra. Starting from the right side, you can see that we have been downloading three different spectra. Here we can check the different names of our data, and by clicking on each of them, we have access to their additional metadata. For example, we know the spectrum ID, the location of the spectra, the spectrum name, and additional information such as the wavelength position of the laser used to collect this data. In addition to that, by clicking on a specific data, we have access to different additional tools. For example, we can change the name of the spectra, we can change the color. As you can see here, we can put it black or any other color. We can also change the spectrum line thickness to make it more visible, and so on. Afterwards, what we can do is to use the spectral tools of the Spectpro to treat and better visualize our spectra. So first of all, we are going to remove some of this data to simplify the explanation. Okay, as explained before, the main tools are displayed on the left side of the Spectpro window. What we can do here, for example, is to use the magnifier tool to zoom in and zoom out our spectra, so we can perfectly check the position of our peaks, for example. If we want to go back to the original plot, we just need to click here on adjust zoom. And even though we are zooming in and out, you can see that here below we always can track the exact position of the zoom within our spectra. And so the first tool we can use is the magnifier tool. By clicking here, what we can do is to just zoom in and zoom out. We can select the area we can zoom manually, or either we can select from here. We can just write down, for example, that we want to zoom in the range that goes between 100 and 1000 centimeters minus 1. As you can see, at the center of the screen, the zoom is automatically actualized. Another thing we can do is to cut our spectrum. Here we just need to use this tool, and once again we can manually select the range we want to cut, or we can write down here the wavelength we want to keep for our data analysis. For example, from 100 to 2000. After cutting, we click again on adjust zoom, and the range is automatically actualized. We can also normalize the spectra. We just click on the N icon, and we can select different ways to normalize our spectra. So we can perform a normalization by area, by peak, or by analyzing the maximum and minimum values that are comprised within our spectrum. Now we'll just select by peak. I can also select if the normalization should be performed by taking into account the whole range or only according to the zoom view we have in the central window. I will select the whole range and I will apply the normalization. And as you can see now, the maximum value of our spectrum is 1. Then we also have a spectra shifting tool, which is particularly useful when we want to compare different spectra. In this case, what I will gonna do is just to duplicate this spectra. As you can see, we have 2 now, and I'm gonna change the color of the second spectrum. I want it red, and I'm also gonna change the thickness of the lines to make it similar to the black one. Okay, and then what we can do now is to select one of the spectra, click on the shifting tool, select the direction where we want to perform the shifting. In this case, I want to do it vertical, and by clicking here we can select the amount and the degree of the shifting. Once we select the value we want, we just need to click on Save Spectrum, and as you can see, we can perform a better comparison of the spectra that are, and as you can see here, then we can perform a better comparison of the spectra that are in the central window of the Spectpro software. Finally, we also have a spectral calculator that we can use to perform several kind of calculations. For instance, we can send the first spectra to the operand 1, the second spectra to the operand 2, and we can sum the 2 spectra or perform the derivative, and the results are automatically displayed on the lower part of our on the lower part of the right section. Is automatically displayed on the lower part of this section, and we can actually send the result of our calculation to a new plot of the spectrum. So these are just a few tips on how to use the Spectpro software, but of course if you want to have more detailed information on how to use all the specific tools, we can download the manual of the Spectpro software, which will be released together with the Pedal platform.